What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of That Mill podcast, edition number 6 of the 2022-23 season. Joining myself, Omer, is my regular co-host, Mr. Micky Simpson. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. You all right?
Not bad, Tar. Looking forward to previewing our season, mate, and giving some predictions later on in the show.
Yes, mate. It'll be a good crack. It'll definitely be a good crack. So yeah.
Looking forward to that. Anyway, and also joining us is Joe. How you doing, pal? You good?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing, guys? You all right? You're good?
Yeah, all good. Looking forward to doing the show. Obviously, you guys, if you're new around here, be sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new. In today's show, we're going to do a first part recapping pre-season. Obviously, a few games that we've had, talk about that, our thoughts and kind of ambitions or pessimisms going into the season. I'm sure we might be a little bit of that as well. And then in part number 2, we'll talk about some little funny predictions like player of the season, young player of the season, goal of the season, and just throw a few things out there and see what we can come up with. So we'll go straight to part number 1 now and talk all things pre-season. All right, welcome back to the first part of the show. I'm sure Micky's going to point out that I made a mistake there. Go on, Micky.
No, I wouldn't. I wasn't. I was going to do. I wanted to say something else. I was going to sit there and say, much appreciation to Joe for Friday night or Thursday night when we did the space, and it was about 10 to 8. We were going to go live, and I just said, by the way, you need to leave this show because I've had to take my boy to a walk-in emergency centre. So I'll be on the call, but you're going to have to lead it in case I need to kick in and out. So yeah,
Kicking the deep end. That was, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was massively. And the worst bit was I could keep coming back, but I could hear. I was listening to it all, but I was keep coming up and everything. But no, it went well, and we'll probably no doubt do another one this week. So
it's all good. Glad your boys are all right anyway, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So yeah.
If you haven't listened to that, it's the last show on there. Obviously, the live interactive Millwall fan show number 1 of the 22-23 season. But chaps, I thought we'd just talk a bit about pre-season in general. Obviously, we've had a few results. Kicked off with a 5-4 defeat at Crystal Palace's training grounds, followed by a 2-0 win over Dartford, and then obviously we had a 1-0 win over Colchester, a 0-0 draw with Hammarby, and then followed that up with the last game of pre-season, a 1-1 draw at the Den against Ipswich. We'll throw the training game in there as well. Obviously, a 5-0 win over Bromley, same day as Dartford. But Joe, how are you feeling after pre-season, mate? Kind of excited? What's the kind of mood you're feeling at the moment?
Yeah, a little bit apprehensive, I guess, because you're hoping for, I guess, better performances in the last sort of couple of games against Hammarby and Ipswich. We didn't quite do that, did we, for whatever reason. What was quite encouraging is, we lose 5-4 to Palace, one of our first friendlies, but I hear that Palace beat QPR yesterday, 3-0, and it's quite convincing as well. So when you kind of measure us against them and how well they did compared to ourselves, I think we did reasonably well. One thing I did notice as well in the last couple of games is we never really kind of went for it, whether that was on purpose, whether our boys just looked at it as a friendly, didn't want to get injured, didn't want to overexert themselves. They didn't really come out all guns blazing, whereas the opposition seemed to play quite well against us, both Hammarby and Ipswich. So you've got to take it as a pinch of salt, haven't you, I guess? And you just hope for a much better, more improved performance. And they're probably saving their best for Stoke next on Saturday.
Is pre-season something for you? Results matter, Joe, or is it maybe? Obviously, the priority is getting fitness and the players not getting injured. But I feel like, especially in recent years, pre-season shifted away a bit from getting the results in, scoring loads of goals. Instead, it's more prioritise getting the minutes in, start to form them little partnerships on the pitch, and then anything else on top is a bit of a bonus. It feels like for managers nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. I think in previous years, where we haven't been so adventurous in the transfer market, you don't really look forward to those pre-season games because it is what it is. You don't really get excited about it. But I think this season was different, start of the season, because you were looking forward to seeing the likes of Honeyman and Fleming and Cresswell and how they're going to, merge with the rest of the group of players and how they're going to perform. So there was that element of excitement, but ultimately it is just a friendly in the day. And I guess, answer to your question, I don't think the results matter too much. It's more about the performance and just seeing how the team gels together.
Micky, what do you reckon, mate? I mean, pre-season as a whole, and how about pre-season for you?
I've never really been a massive pre-season fan. I think pre-seasons are pre-seasons. They're just like you said, they're just a time for players to start gelling, and also just to get match time underneath their belts. And obviously, if it's competitive and it's a good game, then great. But I don't normally necessarily go. I mean, I've been to a few this season with you boys, but I don't normally necessarily go to the pre-season because they're pointless. But they are what they are. But I don't know. It's sort of you're hit with a bit of both. Like the Palace game, with the result what we got from the Palace game, it was a bit exciting and thought, do you know what, we could have it here. And then we done obviously, what did we do? Dartford next, and then it's sort of okay. We won 2-0, but it was just flat. It was it was as if we were just idling along in first gear. We didn't actually step it up, and then since then we've not really. Seems to really have stepped it forward. Hannonby, I think we just coasted that. We didn't really, neither one of us, I think, really gave it. There's a few of their players I wouldn't mind signing, if I'm honest. But no, a few players I've been disappointed with during pre-season. A few players I've been wait till they get in the championship. I think these boys are really gonna have it. But again, we're probably going into more details with those in a bit. But no, sort of a bit.
Come on, name players you've been disappointed with. Who's been disappointed you? I'm interested to see who you got for us. I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but who's not really done it for you this pre-season?
I think Malone isn't necessarily the Malone from last season, but that could be purely because Rowett's overworking him a bit too much. I think I'm not really disappointed. I just think there's been too much pressure put on him by our fan base as a whole. But I think Fleming's probably going to take maybe 10 games, I think, to settle in. And hopefully he does settle into it. But he does, the Championship is a fast game. It compared to European football, it's a full-on game. So hopefully he'll be able to settle into that. He's got some energy about him, but he just looks a bit lost occasionally. And sort of, I don't know, doesn't look as if, I don't know, not lost as in don't know what he's doing, just lost as in it sort of overtakes him a bit.
I think it's a bit of both in a sense that he's got to get used to how we play, Joe, but also we've got to get used to how he plays, and we've got to kind of fit the two together, don't you think, Joe? Like, as in a sense that, he's going to take time to acclimatise, but also I think Micky's right there with the physicality of the Championship, but maybe when the game's a bit more end-to-end, a bit more fast-paced, maybe you'll start to see him have a bit more space and time on the ball, and then he might come into his own. It's a bit of an unknown, isn't it? But it's an exciting unknown nonetheless, I suppose.
Chopolo, I'm quite impressed with as well. I think there's a future for BT.
Go on, Joe. What are you about Fleming, mate?
I completely agree with you. I saw that in the game against Hammarby, and also more so against the Ipswich game. It sounds like he's not quite in sync with the speed of the game. He's a very good player, very technically gifted, but he's just like a tenth of a second slower than everyone else. Not much, but a little bit. So when the ball comes through, he's not expecting the challenge. And I noticed he lost the ball a few times. And then what I also noticed with Fleming was when he gets a bit angry, let's say he gets a bad tackle, doesn't get a decision, it kind of like almost incentivizes him a little bit. He gets a little bit like, red mist, and that kind of improves his game. So I think he'll quickly work it out, like Micky said, over the next sort of few games. I think he will work out he's going to have to kind of up his tenacity a little bit and intensity and speed up a little bit more, which let's be honest, it shouldn't take him long to kind of adjust. And once he kind of finds it, and like you said, once they know how to play with him as well, I think we would definitely see that the player that we know that's in there.
That scissor kick sort of showed that, didn't it? When he done that scissor kick, overhead kick, whichever way you want to kick, he was just, slightly out of pace with it. But he still pulled it off. But if he was a couple of seconds quicker on that, that would have probably been more goal bound than corner.
You know what it is though, Micky, as well? I think it's the style of play that we play as well. We're so used to, I know Omer mentions quite often about playing through the lines. We probably don't do that as well as we should do. So many times, I notice our defenders got the ball, or even whoever's playing DM, whether it be like George Evans or Mitchell, and you're looking at Fleming coming to the ball, and Honeyman, and they want the ball at their feet. And even Shackleton does this. And they've got probably about a metre away from the opposition player. But it's like our players don't trust them by giving them the ball in that area. Now, I would say
you could see that with Hannibal.
Yeah, I always say that if you're a player and you want that ball and you're coming to the player to receive it, give them the ball. I mean, if you're not calling for the ball, wanting the ball, you're not comfortable. I'd be more concerned if someone's moving away from the ball, not wanting the ball. But I've noticed that so often, especially with Fleming, that so often he came a little bit deeper against Ipswich, wanted the ball at his feet and just got ignored. And then what will happen is just play the ball back or play the ball sideways. And then again, he's got to turn and make find a different position again. So it's a two-way street. And I think, yes, he's got to adjust, but also they've got to realise, listen, there's a player there, give him the ball. Put the ball into his feet. You know? Shackleton at the Hannibal game. I mean, me and you were saying it when we were over there. He just wasn't getting the ball. He was in space all the time. He was screaming for it. And they wouldn't give it to him. Yeah. But his Leeds partner, every time he had the ball and every time Shackleton called for it, he just played it to him. Yeah, he just played it to him. Yeah. And to be fair, I mean, most of the times he didn't lose it. I think there was one time, I think he wanted the ball and it's a little bit of a dangerous area. I think he kind of lost it. I think that one of their forwards must have nipped the ball off him and they had an attack on our goal. But it'll be funny, when you've gone sort of 10 minutes without getting the ball, you're going to feel a little bit cold, aren't you? So these players, the likes of Honeyman, the likes of Fleming, the likes of Shackleton, you've got to be giving them the ball, even just a little touch. You see in the Premiership, sometimes they just want a little touch and they give it back to you again. You've got to have that kind of touch. And there's no point us keep playing it backwards. I keep playing it wide. Just play it into the middle. You'll get it back and just keep that ball moving.
No, I agree. I think with Shackleton in particular, I think it'd be interesting to see if he puts him in from the start. I mean, I think he fancies him and I think he thinks that he could be an option for the midfield position. But I think it'll be an interesting debate to have. And I think you're right, Joe, with playing through the lines. I think we go back to front a bit too quick. And I think it's a bit ingrained in the team in the sense that when Hutchinson gets the ball in the right centre-half position or Murray gets the ball left centre-half position, it's constantly look down the wing or play in the channel and get the players to run onto it. And obviously you've got Bradshaw and Afobe are quite mobile, but I do think we need to... I think he'll open up a bit. I think it's been a bit cat and mouse pre-season. And I think that's why I asked you the question earlier, if the results matter. I mean, they do, because I think you need confidence, but I think a lot of teams, and I feel like Rowett's is sort of manager as well in a sense, and my findings on it are purely just me speculating about it. But I don't think you want to give away too much in pre-season nowadays. And I think when it comes to the season start, and it's hard to judge when you've got 1,000 Millwall fans sitting in the West Stand watching the game, not really much of an atmosphere. But when there's 14, 15, 16,000 there on Saturday, which I hope there is, and I'm sure there will be, that's when the players, the likes of Honeyman, the likes of Shackleton, the likes of even perhaps Fleming, but especially Afobe and Bradshaw, they'll rise to the occasion. And I think what I was impressed about, and they spoke about on Saturday as well, obviously our goal came from a high press. And I do think, Joe, I don't know what you reckon, but obviously it's hard to constantly press oppositions because then if they play through you, you're facing your own goal and then you're in a bit of trouble there. But if we can use that and utilize it, especially in the home games when the crowd's on, on our side, so to speak, it could be maybe a golden ticket there, maybe to kind of kick on and take games to opposition.
I completely agree. Again, I mean, I love the high press. There's nothing more frustrating when you're seeing the opposition team having the ball in their defensive areas, knocking the ball about, and then you've got the likes of Afobe or Bradshaw, or whoever it might be, just waiting before they can pounce. I love the fact that you kind of put on the pressure. Charles, when you do that, the rest of the team's got to move forward. There's no point the forwards going and leaving a massive space behind them to allow the opposition to play through us. So to do that, you've got to play a high defensive line. The midfielders will come up, the attacks come up. You will come up as a team really and press the team. And I think that's how the goal happened on Saturday, because I think it was actually Honeyman who won the tackle, which then broke through to Afobe, who then went through to score, didn't he? So, again, whether it's a change in tactics, I think Wright quite likes the idea of them sitting back. We did quite a lot last season and being patient and wait for the ball and then go in. But I think looking at our team, we do play better when we're on the front foot, we're pressing high, being a nuisance to the opposition, winning the ball in the high areas and being more effective.
Definitely. And I think also, the problem I always had is if you play Cooper left centre half, then he's getting dragged out of position when you play the high press, and that could be a bit of a problem. But I think he's changed up a bit with the rival with Cresswell. And I do think, I'm thinking when I'm picking the team, I don't know if he's going to start the season, but I could see Cooper losing his place in the side chaps. And I think that's crazy even to suggest in the first place. But if you've got a mobile centre half on the right side of Creswell, mobile centre half on the left side of Murray Wallace, I think Hutchinson's going to take the centre position in that scenario. I don't know what you think, Joe. Like, is that even crazy to think? But it's great to have the competition for places. And Cooper will have his uses against a target man, and you put him in the heart of the defence, he's going to dominate the air all game. But I just wonder if we're going to play for the high press, then maybe he's the one that might miss out. Maybe perhaps.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen Rowett do it in the past. He's not afraid to drop the captain. I mean, he did it with Alex Pearce, didn't he? A year or two ago. Hutchinson's a great player. He's a very influential player for us. But you're right. I think when you play a back three defence, not including the wing backs, of course, you need mobility on the sides to chase those channels and get those fast players. I quite like the idea of Cooper in the middle. I think Cooper's pretty good in the middle. He's tall. He wins the aerial balls.
Same.
But also, if you're going to take Hutch out to put Cresswell in, although Cresswell ain't wearing the armband, he is a really, really mouthy player. You just see him. You can hear him. I watched him against Hammarby. I watched him against Dartford, again against Ipswich. And he come on the second half against Ipswich. And literally in 10 seconds, he's on the pitch and he's shouting, to the players, then what he's saying is that, he keeps giving commands and instructions. And he's just a very, very kind of vocal player. So I think having him beside Cooper, I think you probably won't miss out on Hutch, to be fair. I think that will probably work quite nicely. So either Hutch or Cooper in the middle, I agree with Omar. Maybe Cresswell on one side and Murray Wallace on the other side.
I think, Mickey, you mentioned obviously Malone not looking quite the same. I wouldn't be surprised if long term maybe we look for a left wing back on loan, or I'm not sure what the market's going to offer us. But if Murray Wallace was to play left wing back, then I saw on Saturday he put Creswell left centre half. That could be something, I suppose, an option there. But also, I saw you send a message about Hutch. You don't think he's the same as old, no?
I don't think he. And again, it could be literally that they've been run ragged through pre-season, because Gary keeps saying on recast and stuff that he's been running him, running the players hard, doing, aggressive training and getting things across and all that. But Hutch I just don't think Hutch looks the player he was. But again, it's pre-season. Turn up on Saturday, they could all be fucking firing on all cylinders, and we could be just going, fucking hell, we've just been hoodwinked during the pre-season, and all of a sudden this team fires on all cylinders and we fucking smash Stoke fucking 20-0. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those you're never going to know until what comes out on Saturday. But Hutch, I mean, Joe, you agree, I think, don't you, that Hutch just doesn't look the player he was last season so far in a few games?
Yeah, I don't think he's doing anything massively wrong. But
No.
I think where he sets the bar so high, and he has done over the last 2-3 seasons, you always kind of expect him to run the show in the defence, and really be commanding. And maybe he hasn't quite stamped his authority in the games we've seen him in pre-season. Distribution, I don't think he's too bad. I think he's probably a little bit better than Cooper at passing the ball out from the back. But perhaps he's not quite on it at the moment. But then you can make the same argument for a lot of players, can't you? They're not quite on song at the moment. So, like you say, Mickey, maybe wait till Saturday and make a better assumption then, perhaps,
I think Mickey, firstly, what's the odds on 20-0 for Saturday? Because I need to know.
Cooper score first, 20-0.
Yeah, Cooper score first 20-0. I mean, by the way, I do fancy Cooper to get a goal in the first few games. I think he's got on the end of a few set pieces. I wanted to raise that actually, lads, because I don't think Cooper scored obviously against Colchester. And I think, did Creswell get a goal in the opening preseason game? I can't recall who scored in the Palace game. I know Fleming got one.
Creswell scored in Palace as well, didn't he?
So do we think, we're looking at our sides, we need to capitalise on set pieces this year, right? Because you look at the size and the depth of our defence, they're all big players. And I think we're missing a quality dead ball specialist at the moment. I think Honeyman's took a few in pre-season. I've not really seen too much to say, amazing or not good. Time will tell. But Joe, I mean, I think we're missing Wallace's set pieces already. I'm going to say it now. I think it'd be interesting to see how that kicks off in the start of the season, and we need to kind of capitalise on these set pieces to have our edge in the game. I feel like.
I know. One of the things I thought to myself beginning of the season when we started doing these shows is that I don't want to mention Jed. I feel like it's history. Let's move forward. But unfortunately,
Jed who?
But I think every kind of game, whether it be a friendly or whatever it is, we're always making comparisons, aren't we? We're always thinking, what if? And if we had Jed, would it be different? And I guess we'll make that question asked ourselves all the time. But you're right there, Omer. I don't think we've got anyone at the moment that can give us the ability that Jed has in set piece, whether it be from a direct free kick or an indirect free kick, crossing in. Honeyman likes to get on it on the free kicks with his right foot. I guess you'll have Saville and Malone using it from the left side.
But we haven't seen Shackleton. We haven't seen Fleming yet. We haven't really seen, any of these young boys that come in will probably be all right to do it. Malone can stick a ball in as well. So I think we'll be all right. But again, Jed, he's gone.
Of course he's gone. But I've noticed it in pre-season where Honeyman will step on them. He looks handy, of course, from him. I'm not saying he's terrible, but Jed Wallace had that knack of whipping the ball in at pace, but also putting it on a sixpence as well. And sometimes it'd go terribly wrong, but more often than not, he'd put it in the right areas for the centre half to go and attack them. I think also with pre-season as well, like we spoke about, preparation for the games. It's not been preparation for the games. It's been work them to the grounds, as Mickey said that Rat's been doing. But I think this week it'll be more built on match preparation, won't it, Mickey? And then hopefully going into Saturday's game, we're going to see a all singing and dancing Mill performance.
Hopefully, yeah, that's what I think. I think we've probably been lured into a false pretense. We looking at the team, we're like, oh God, fucking hell. And then come Saturday, I think we'll be on fire. I think we'll see a solid team of how we're going to play and go forward. And I agree with what you said earlier on. I think Rowett's been in this game far too long to show his hand before the season starts. I think the benefit of him swapping literally the full team at half time and swapping loads of players around is constantly kept, because we know that there'd be scouts or opposition scouts, etc., coming to look how we're playing, etc., or watching, live feeds, etc. So, I think he's probably kept his cards close to his chest. But Saturday is the day. I mean, if we have a disastrous event there, then we've not really moved forward. We've just signed new names, but not really moved forward from where we were last season, are we?
I mean, it'd be interesting to see how it all blends together. I mean, is there any more standout moments that you guys want to pick up from pre-season? I mean, I've been to all of them, and it's just been kind of bland, to be honest. I'll say it, but it's not been bland because it's shit. It's just pre-season, and I never really.
BT's looks all right.
Topolage has been good, and he's got a couple of opportunities in the last games off the bench. Is he gonna throw him in at deep end in the league football though? I don't think he would personally. Joe, you're shaking your head. Yeah, I don't know.
I can't see it happen. Maybe in the domestic, small competitions and
Cambridge.
cups. Yeah, you could see him very feature in there. But you're right. I think you're looking at Malone and Wallace for those left wing spaces, aren't you?
But don't forget it's 5 subs this year.
Yeah, but there'd be other players who can play there, can't he? I mean, I'm sure. I mean, he might do. You're right there, Mickey. I mean, if he starts with Malone. If he starts with Malone and Murray Wallace, and they're both on the pitch at the same time, and Toffolo's on the bench, then you're right. There's a good chance that he will take Malone off in 70 minutes, 75 minutes, and maybe bring him on for the last 10 minutes and see what he can do. So I hope he does. He probably wouldn't do it if he didn't have the option of having 5 subs. If he only had 3, he probably wouldn't risk it. So there is a great chance.
I think this championship is. As much as I'm not a big fan of the 5 subs, but I do think what the 5 subs is going to do is make it a lot more strategic game because you can pretty much run your players out for the first half, full on pace, and then if you've got enough pace to do it again, you basically change it up again, and you can either, you could pretty much, if you had the players, you could load the midfield and attack and change them at half time, and then basically have legs to go at the opposition again. So I do think that possibly it's going to be a very, very strategic games for the championship going forward this season. And I think that the football managers are going to have to be very football-minded managers, looking at their stats, looking at, the analytics and everything else of it, and we know that Gary is massively on the stats and everything else. So, fingers crossed, it becomes a strength for us to play with the 5 subs. But again, we're just plucking straws out of the air. We don't know what's going to be until we're a couple of games in. It could all go fucking drastically wrong, or it could be fucking superb and, we don't lose a game.
I think just to wrap up the part, the one thing I had felt walking out of Saturday's game, I don't get too high or low in preseason games. I purposely don't do it, especially when we're all being high after dark, for example. I know it wasn't the highest of highs, but I remember saying, like, I'm always a bit cautious with preseason. I did feel like, though, Joe, we were short up top with options on Saturday. Obviously, Fleming got the chance to play up there with Afobe. Flat to deceive, but we spoke about Fleming and maybe transitional time needed. I think Bradshaw and Afobe will be our partnership going into the first game of the season personally. But I thought Bennett also has looked really good, and I wouldn't be begrudging to see him play because he looks really lively against Hammarby. But I do think we're missing one more option there that offers something a bit different to the three I've just mentioned there. I don't know what you think, mate.
I think you're completely right. So you look at the players who've got available to us up front. You've got Afobe, you've got Bradshaw, you've got Bennett, you've got Bury, Bennett. That's 5. Options there you can use, even Fleming 6, and not apart from Afobe, there's not many of them that you would look at and think, you know what, they're a threat. They're going to get us a goal. You can see that happening, and that's probably been the most negative part in our pre-season, that we haven't really made a difference. I think defensively we look strong in pre-season. Midfield we look pretty good. Lots of energy with the new players, lots of Honeyman and Shackleton and whatnot. But I think the problem I'm seeing at the moment is we are lacking that cutting edge up front. We need somebody who's going to stretch their defenders a bit like Burke used to. Mm-hmm. Maybe like a better version of him if we could get one like him. But a bit of pace, some bit of class is going to kind of make those runs, get behind the defenders. Cause havoc. At the moment, we don't seem to have that.
But on paper, we've got a lot more young, pacey players.
Yeah, but not quite ready now. You look at Bury, I think we mentioned it in the last show. He's got some great qualities, but he's also got some areas that he needs to really work on and improve on. Bennett, I think Bennett's great. I think if I was a defender, I think he'd be a real handful playing against. But again, he's probably quite effective when he takes the ball from deep areas. But you need somebody in that kind of box that's going to cause problems, not so much in wide areas. So at the moment, I think we are missing that player. I think if we can sign one more player in, and it'd be a good young, hungry striker who's fast, that might be the missing ingredient we're looking for at the moment. I'm not sure whether is that gone cold now, that Everton youngster that we're after.
It's not been mentioned, but I don't think he's been linked to anyone else either, really. So I'm not really seeing much his name banded around.
But he could be someone like that, because he's a very similar player to Bradshaw, as in he's a goal scorer. He'll sniff out a goal. But what he does give us better than what Bradshaw has got is that kind of injection of pace. He can make those runs and get those pace. Whereas Bradshaw, he probably doesn't have the pace that maybe you would need to be that effective.
I think it's between us and Huddersfield for him.
Is it? Yeah, well, Huddersfield signed. I think Huddersfield signed the player from non-league side, about 6'9".
I saw that.
Yeah, apparently he's the tallest English player, isn't he? So
he's bigger than Crouch, isn't he?
Yeah. So that probably gives you an idea of what Huddersfield try to do this season. They're probably looking at possession footballs, getting crosses into the box, which is something that Rowett was trying to get away from when he got rid of Matt Smith, and kind of did away with that kind of aerial presence in the box. So it's interesting to see that. So maybe that player won't be suitable for Huddersfield if they're looking for someone who's a bit bigger and go a bit more direct. It seems, No,
it's true. It'd be interesting. I think with us, it's just the unknown, isn't it? But it's the same time, it's excitement that gets you ready for Saturday. That's it. It sort of gets you with Millwall, doesn't it?
That's the bit what kills you, isn't it, with Millwall? It's the unknown and where you know what we can achieve, but sometimes we underachieve. And days when you think we're going to get spanked, we overachieve. So
I think to round up what I would say, I think I've not really seen it in pre-season, but I think the difference this year has got to be just the consistency of the team. There's times where we've been, always defensively solid, but throughout the season we've always been a patchy side. And I think this year, if we really want to challenge and get into that top 6 position, which the ambition clearly is, and the hopes and expectations perhaps are too, we've just got to try, Mickey, I think, to be a team that's consistent, that picks up 3 wins every 6 games instead of losing 6 on the bounce and then winning 6 on the bounce. We've got to try and be consistent over a set amount of games. I don't know what you think, mate.
I totally agree with you. I think it's we've made the investment in players, regardless of why, how, whether or not it's Man City, whether or not it's this, selling on players, whatever it is, we put money into the club. And I think we're in a potential, path where if we go and give it our all, then we might get in playoffs. And once you get into the playoffs, it's fucking open. It's only one game then. Do you know what I mean? Or 2 games, in the playoffs as such. But, if we could get to that promised land, then hey ho. But
hey ho.
all I'm hoping for, mate, is that we finish anywhere above, 19th.
No. One thing I'll give Routy's due for, and one thing I'll give him credit for significantly is since he's come in, you don't look below. Maybe I did a little bit last season at January time. I was looking below.
But we play back the shows.
No, because I always said it as well. There's 3 worse teams than us in that division, and I think this is going to be the same this year as well. Like,
I totally agree. I don't think we're going to be bottom, but I'm saying as a whole, Millwall, I think we are an established championship team now. I don't think we're going to go down, but I reckon realistically.
What place we finishing this year? Tell me now what place we're finishing this year, Mickey, and then we'll all 3 of us do it just to round up part 1. Bit of fun. No context. Just tell me where we're going to finish this year.
Realistic. 7, 8, 9. Ideally, probably 3rd or 4th.
Give me an answer. What place are we finishing this year, Mickey?
5. There we go.
Joe?
I'll say 6th spot.
I want to say 7th.
Yeah. I think you're probably right, though. I'm probably talking more with my heart than my head.
I will say 6th.
Yeah,
Come on. I'll go 6th. We'll go 6th. You've twisted my arm there. But anyway, that's the end of part 1. As mentioned, if you're new around here, like the video, subscribe. Leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts too. It does help us out more than you think. Let's go into part number 2 and talk predictions. A bit more fun as well. Some weird questions I've got in there for the guys. And we'll do that now. All right. Welcome to the second part of the show. All right, chaps. I think we'll do the conventional questions first. We're going to give our predictions on who we think will be, for example, player of the season. And then I've got a few other quirky questions in there, but just a bit of fun, bit of lightheartedness, to get us in the mood for the new season. Joe, I'll come to you first, mate. Who's going to be our player of the season this year for you? Fans player of the season?
I think that's going to be quite an easy one for me. For me, it's going to be George Honeyman. I think the fans are going to warm to him. They're going to love him. I mean, every time I've seen him, he loves a tackle. He's everything about what Millwall fans want in a Millwall player, but he's got that little bit of a quality to him as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of a no-brainer. I think he'll definitely win player of the season.
Mickey?
You see, I was nailed on Honeyman, same as you. But now I think it's possibly a couple. I think Honeyman and probably Cresswell. I think
it's because you were sat next to me at Hammerby the other day and you just stole my words you're about to say now.
No, I didn't. I'll tell you what. No, I didn't. I'll tell you what it is. Is that he's so vocal when he plays. He's like absolutely everywhere. And if he loses a ball or someone else loses a ball next to it, he will run and get it back. And it's as if he's got this bee in his bonnet that, like, you cheeky cunt, what are you doing? I'll have that. And he's just goes back. So I think potentially, I mean, I'm going to go between 3. I'm going to go Honeyman, and I've got a feeling that Fleming's going to fucking come on form, and Cresswell. One of those 3 are going to be it, absolutely. Or if not, all 3. But then again, I suppose Bart's normally in the top 3 at some point.
So if you had to pick one, though, who would you go with, Mickey?
Yeah, go with one. Go on, mate.
I'm going to go with Cresswell.
Okay, you've stolen my shout, but it's okay. We can have the same one. It's fine.
I'll go with Honeyman then.
Okay, you've stolen Joe's shout, but it's okay.
Mine now.
I think we're all going to think similar players, to be fair. And I think the general consensus online, I thought it before I even saw Honeyman kick a ball, because I just think he's going to fit into the, it wouldn't surprise me if Honeyman wins it. I think I'm just going a bit against the grain when I'm saying Cresswell, because I think he's just going to be loved by Millwall fans the second we see him play properly. Similar to what Mickey's saying there, he's barking orders, but also he's a physical beast in that sense. He's 20, 21 years old, and he looks like the real deal already. And I know it's a lot of pressure to put on a player that's not even played league football, really. He's played 5 games in the Premier League, not a lot of games. But Leeds fans, sing the praises of him until the dying death. They really think he's a real player. From what I've seen, I think the same too. And I do think he's just going to be someone that we're going to be endeared to. And I think he loves a challenge, loves a tackle. He's great on the ball. His distribution from the back is unbelievable. The best I've seen from a centre half at the Den for a long while. I just think when he gets his opportunity, he's going to stay in that side. I don't think he's going to start the season. I think that's based on, obviously, the form last season of our 3 central defenders. But I do think once he's in that side, he's not coming out of it. And I just think he'll be not necessarily underdog, but I think he'll be someone that's going to be in the contention for it from the get-go. I will kind of spin it now and say who's going to be the underdog. Now, I'm going to give mine as Tom Bradshaw. I think I've got a sneaky feeling if Bradshaw scores a goal early doors, gets another streak again, lads, and doesn't get injured, I'm going to put an outside shout because when was the last time we saw a striker win player of the season? Was it Gregory the year he left? It doesn't often happen. It's a bit of a, go a bit risky with your underdog shout. Don't necessarily go safe. I'm going to say Tom Bradshaw as my underdog shout for player of the season. What about you, Joe, mate?
I'm going to go for my underdog, and I'm laughing as I'm even thinking. I haven't said it yet. I'm going for George Evans. I'm serious. I'm not even taking the piss either.
I like it. Okay, go on, mate. Go on.
What I've seen in pre-season, he looks like he's got a bit more confidence. He looks a bit sharper, but also I think he kind of fits in better with the players we brought in. So when you look at like Fleming and Honeyman, where they want to play with the ball, he just seems to kind of suit them better than anything we've got at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if Rowett gives him a few games earlier on to see how he beds in, and if he starts playing well, then who knows?
Does he get in your best 11 though, Joe?
At the moment,
question.
At the moment in time, I'll probably say no.
Okay.
I'll probably put Shackleton ahead of him.
I get what you're saying. I like the angle you've actually come from there because he has looked at times okay in pre-season. I mean, Mickey was sat next to me at Hammerby and I was just cutting him off all game, to be honest. I like him. The only thing he's good at, though, is pinging the ball 60, 70 yards, and he's the best at doing that at the club, and I 100% support that. I just think he's too slow to play midfield for me, personally.
He is too slow, and the thing is, he looked really good against Dartford and I think was it Bromley and Colchester.
Yeah.
Because of the opposition, they're obviously a little bit slower. Yeah. And I always thought, how is he going to compete against a championship team? And I guess, although we haven't played a championship team, I think Hammerby and Ipswich were probably close enough to being one and being a bit quicker. And I think he struggled a little bit against Hammerby. I think it was noticeable he took too long on the ball and lost the ball a couple of times. But then against Ipswich, I thought he looked okay. There's a few times he showed some good feet. He moved the ball really well. He didn't really lose it. Looked in control. So who knows?
Mickey, who's going to be your dark horse shout for player of the season? Go a bit left field with it, mate, and just see what you can justify afterwards.
I'm going to go Afobe.
Okay. Who's the shout? Afobe.
I just think Afobe potentially because the fan base is taken to him. And I've just got a feeling that he could potentially score a good few goals this season. But looking around, we have got people what can score this season.
Well, let me come in with my next question because it's actually good that I said Bradshaw and you said Afobe. I've asked, I was going to go to young players season, but we'll come back to that in a second. How many goals will Bradshaw, Afobe, and Fleming get? Not collectively, but each individually. So what do you reckon, Mickey? Go on. So Bradshaw, Afobe, and Fleming, how many league goals are they going to register this season? Each.
Fucking hell.
Just eyeball it. Just kind of go for it. This is all on the spot. I'm not going to hold to it.
I reckon. Seriously, Afobe's come back with a.
Afobe got 14 last season. Bradshaw got 12, and Fleming got 12 in Holland. So there's your caveats there. But,
I'm going to go 18 for Afobe.
Right.
17 for Bradshaw. And I'm going to go 23 for Fleming.
Jesus. I told you to eyeball it, just go for it.
With goals like that, we'll finish top of the league.
We're winning the league, mate. What's that?
Exactly.
50, that's 50 odd goals amongst our front three alone. We're winning the league, mate, on that logic. Go on, Joe. What do you reckon, mate?
I think Afobe will improve on last season, only because he had a real kind of slow sort of start to the season and he come good towards the end. So with his confidence, and we know how he likes to play now, and he looks okay in training. He scored a couple of goals, pre-season. Scored a couple of goals in pre-season. So I agree with Mickey. I think he'll be about 18. I think Bradshaw probably won't get as many games as he did last season. So I think he'll probably score less. I'm guessing like 8. And I reckon Fleming will probably play the number 10 role because everyone keeps saying, oh, he can play as a striker, he should play as a striker. No, he's a number 10. He's somebody you want to give a free role to, let him run, let him do what he wants to do, and he'll score you goals. He'll score you goals out of nothing, I reckon, once he gets going. Yeah. But I think he won't score many. He'll probably score 5 or 6, probably give us a few assists. But the goals that he will score for us, I guarantee you, will be goals where we'll win 2-1 or 1-0, and he'll score in the 85th minute, but he'll score a worldie from like the edge of the box or something like that, you know. So he'll score the goals that matter, but he won't be as prolific as Afobe.
Cool. I like it. It's good. I'm going to go with Bradshaw and Afobe both getting 14 each.
Wow.
Which is a fair return for the two strikers. I think, 14 each. Afobe, I think Bradshaw's going to score more goals this year, but Afobe's on penalties. So, like, it's like, you know, that's going to kind of naturally bring his numbers up a little bit because he's the penalty taker.
But do you think Bradshaw will get as many games as
I think he will. I think he hits the ground running. And I think Bradshaw's going to be, you know, a bit like how he was in that little stage over Christmas and New Year's. I just feel like he hasn't been great in pre-season, which I will say. But I think once the games start, Bradshaw comes into his own. I feel like in at the Den in particular, I feel like he relishes the kind of playing at the Den, and same with Afobe too. And I think the pair of them are just going to be workhorses for us up front and chip in with valuable goals again this year. So I reckon they're both going to get 14, and I'll back you with the Fleming shout, 6 or 7 goals maybe. I'll go with 6, but I think he will have a valuable input with his assists and such, and hopefully be, you know, the main contributor to us getting into the playoffs anyway. We'll see.
Just before you move forward on there, do you think Fleming scoring 6 is a good return on the investment what we paid for him?
If he gets 6 goals and 10 assists, absolutely. It's goal contributions that you got to look at for players like that. I think maybe he might be surprised. You never know. Go on, Joe.
Sorry, and I think it's not just the goals and the assists that he'll give us. I think it's the link he'll give us, more importantly, between the midfielder and the attack. Not having Jed there anymore, you need someone that's going to kind of piece it all together. And what he'll do is, I'm hoping when they start playing the ball to his feet a bit more, he'll start getting the ball turning, playing the ball out wide, and kind of starting attacks and creating things. So he may not necessarily score or get loads of assists, but he would help in our attacking play and form that kind of piece in the middle between the midfield and the attack.
Definitely. No, it's a good question though as well. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Who will be our young player of the season then, chaps? Who are we going to go for? I'll go first actually this time. I'll say Tyler Bury. I'll back him. I hope Bury has a good season. I'm not convinced whether or not he's going to kick on. I'm not sure. But I think he's going to pop up with moments that are going to be worthy of winning this award, in the sense that when we need him most in certain games, or when there's like really kind of thin margins to settle the game, 20 minutes to go, Bury's going to be that person that comes on and does something out of nothing. And I don't think he's the full round package, to be honest. But I think to have him around the squad with the 5-sub rule that we always keep talking about, I think he's just going to be invaluable to us. I think you've agreed there, Micky, right?
Yeah, I do. I think it's between him. I mean, if BT don't go on loan, then I think it'll be a close battle between him and BT. But if BT goes on loan, then I think, Bury's nailed on for it. I think.
As much as I'd love to agree with you two, I disagree with Bury. I don't think he is ready yet. Yeah, from what I've seen, he's got some great attributes. He's missing some key attributes. So it's going to take a little bit of time to really develop. He's definitely a player, and he's going to do really well for us one day. But I can't see him getting the run of games and minutes he'll need this season to get ahead of likes of Fleming and Bennett and Honeyman. So for that reason, I don't think he will quite sort of push on. I won't be surprised if he goes out on loan in around Christmas time.
If we recruit in that area, then it wouldn't be surprising to see it too. That's it.
Yeah,
so it's just whether we recruit
exactly. But my young player of the year, I think will go to Shackleton. I think again, we haven't really seen much of him, but what we have seen of him is little snippets, and I've seen some stuff on the highlights reel. I've seen him play for Leeds, in youth games, and what he did really well for Leeds was he'll get the ball, and he's quite small, but he's very pacey, and he's got quick acceleration. He'll get the ball, and he's not afraid to run with the ball and run and attack the defenders and make things happen. And he tends to kind of go to the right-hand side quite a bit and cuts ball back. I've seen a lot of his assists is him running into the box, making those runs and whipping and cutting balls across the face of the 6-yard box. And you look at that in his highlights reel, you think, okay, that's that. But you sometimes you can't see it happening in
at
real life.
Millwall, because you never see that happen at the Den,
No.
right? That's all. You never see a player making a run into the 18-yard box, getting picked out by the wing back, and then cutting it back for a striker. Do you? You never see that?
Yeah, but again, it's only a friendly. Can't get too carried away. But I have seen him do that against Hammerby, and I saw him do it against Ipswich the other day. Like again, he made a couple of good runs. Very unlucky with his final ball, but you can see the intent was there. You can see what's going through his head and how he wanted to play and what he wanted to do. And I think, again, it gives us something different to what we've got. We've got no one in midfield who can burst with the ball at pace like he does and really kind of make things happen and try and put little balls in and try and sort of create something in that final third. So, again, once he gets a run of games, you know, he's got a good work rate as well. I think he could be a surprise one for a young player of the year.
I like the shout. I think the only thing I hate with this, right, is because you sign these Premier League players and you see it straight away. They train week in, week out a certain way. Give them 2 to 3 months at Millwall, all that gets coached out of them. And I know it sounds really naive to say, but I've seen it all the time. I remember Richard Chaplow in particular, when we signed from Southampton years ago. And I remember like he was like on loan to us, and I remember him playing against Charlton when we had the Danny Shittu kind of that's what we do era. And you're thinking this player is unbelievable. Signs for us on a permanent basis, gets used to training a Millwall way, and all them sort of things he was doing before at Southampton when they were playing good football, just completely gets coached out of the player. And maybe that's a criticism towards the manager and the coaching staff there, but that's just it's been a general thing for Millwall for as long as I can remember.
So, ask you, what do you think that might be? I mean, is it because
it's the same reason why I think the way we play is the reason why I think it could be our downfall. Our output going forward, we never see that attacking kind of style of play. You can't pinpoint what a Millwall style of play is.
Is it because they're restricted, you think? Is it a case of like, you know, they don't feel the backing or the confidence to express themselves? And it's almost like, you know what, play it safe. Don't take the player on in case you lose it. I'd rather you keep it simple, pass it. And when the player has that engraved in their heads, they're almost too scared to try anything, aren't they? If you're a Harry Redknapp kind of manager or someone like Bielsa, whatever, you're encouraging your players to go out there and play and attack, then if you're going to install confidence in them, then surely that's a good thing. And they're going to, yes, it ain't going to come off every single time, but more often than not, it will come off. Maybe it's the manager. That's what you're saying.
I think also like this is when it's going to be interesting to see what happens now, because we've got one of the most technically best squads that I've seen us have for as long as I can remember. I'll say it since the early 2000s era. You know, I think this squad is technically on paper got the potential to be really, really good with the ball at their feet and go forward with it as well. And if you give them the free license, you know, if we had Steve Cooper, who was at Nottingham Forest as the coach of this side, I have no doubts at all whatsoever that this side plays attacking football on the eye that looks really easy to see and everyone gets behind. I do question whether Rowett's that kind of manager, because Rowett's very pragmatic of his style, likes to be 0-0 in games and try to nick a game. Whereas there's some coaches out there that will play a certain style and they'll keep playing that style all game no matter what. But, you know, it's worked for Rowett, so I can't really criticise it. And Millwall fans don't like to see that kind of style of football when the going goes tough. But these sides, these managers play that formation, that style every week in, week out because they believe in it. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting, right?
It's interesting because I think defensively, we're a very sound team. Well, I've nothing to kind of worry about there. And what makes it a little bit worse is that we've got a very defensive-minded coaching and management staff. So we're never really going to be that great on the eye going forward. In some ways, you kind of like wish we had a more of an attacking style of play with a defensive coach. But where Rowett always thinks defence first, attack second, we're never really going to please the manager, you know.
It's weird though, because if you watch those videos he's done on those coaching ones, like with the midfield and how he wants the midfield to play and stuff like that, fast moving, you know, don't have time with the ball, get it out to someone else, then think, get it back, then playing the attack. He does have quite an attacking, you know, teaching style, but why it doesn't actually show on the pitch and why it doesn't show at Millwall, I've got no idea. But
I think now's the time to judge him though, Mickey, because he's backed heavily. This is the players he's wanted. This is it now, you know.
This is the first season, isn't it? This is his team.
I think so. And I think, you know, I'm actually really excited for this season. I do think he's the man to take us forward still. But I just think, like, we're never going to see what Joe was saying, like, midfielders making runs into the box. The Man City style of play, which we can coin it as, really, you know. You see De Bruyne making them late charging runs.
We've got the players now, don't you agree, Omar? We've got the players to make those runs from midfield. The likes of Shackleton, the likes of Honeyman and Fleming.
Even Mitchell's got a bit about him as well, a little bit to do that. A couple of times on Saturday I saw him do it. I'm thinking, okay, this is good. And he also said about that in his interview on Saturday.
I had a really weird thought in my head, Omar, earlier. I thought, you know what? If we had Ryan Woods playing at the moment, in that kind of DM role.
We're not having it mentioned.
Did you just kick him out?
Honestly,
you're right. You're right.
I had to slap myself, have a cold shower. I must admit, but I did think for a second, Jesus Christ, if we had Ryan Woods playing in this team, because let's be honest, the reason why he probably didn't look so good, Ryan, was when we had him, we didn't have the players around him making those runs and creating runs for him, and of course, where's he going to put the ball other than sideways, you know? But we do need someone who can kind of unlock, balls into these areas to help out our players we've got now. You know,
I think the criticism of Woods is the same criticism Mitchell's getting from last season. But you play 3 central defenders, you don't need a holding midfield, in my opinion. That is just my opinion. Like without the ball,
not even one. You want
him to not holding. I think you want them to get up and down the pitch. If Shackleton's up and down the pitch with Honeyman, I don't think you need a holding midfielder because they're going to get up and down the pitch and bomb on the whole game. And, obviously one's going to be a little bit deeper than the other, but there's times where you see Mitchell come next to the centre-half to get the ball off the centre-half. Maybe he needs to be a bit further up the pitch. Like that's just like, because you've got 3 centre-halves there. And I think you're going to see with Creswell on the side. Creswell's going to be that player sitting deeper, hopefully. That's a centre-half already there. That's going to hopefully do the balls that Mitchell was doing last season. I think Mitchell gets edged out of the team a little bit this year. I'm happy he signed a new long-term deal. I think he'll get kind of left out soon, though. I can see that happening personally. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I just think with the formation we play, I don't think you need a holding midfielder. You need 2 midfielders in there that takes turns. One comes deep, one goes long. Right, but you need players that run up and down the pitch, in my opinion, in that position, because otherwise you get the 3 isolated up top, which is always what we saw on Saturday and what we saw Wednesday. The 3 up top get isolated, and there's no kind of movement from the midfield. It's like, but if you attack as a team and have midfielders bomb on as well at the same time, I think that would maybe change things up a little bit personally.
That was possibly something from last year where opposition could close off our midfield, couldn't they? They could flood the mid. They could flood the midfield last season, and it just shut us down. We just couldn't get through it.
Yeah. Well, let's finish these questions anyway, lads, because I'm conscious of time, and we're coming up to an hour as well. So we've done who will be our young player of the season. A bit more of a funny one. What will be our goal of the season? So name a player and name what the goal will be like. So I'll just a bit outlandish. I know it's hard to predict as well. I'm going to go Scott Malone goal of the season with a half volley from 25 yards. That's going to be like picturesque. That's what I'm going to go with, something like that. Go on, Joe. What you got for me, mate? Off the cuff.
Ooh, come on. God, I think it's going to have to be like an overhead kick or a scissor kick from Fleming.
That's what mine was. You can't. That's what mine was.
I was going to go Fleming too, but I thought they're both Fleming, so I'll just move away.
We know what he's about. He's a bit of a flair player. He's gifted. We've seen that, from his grounding as an Ajax youngster, and we saw him try it, didn't we? That game against Hammarby.
Yeah.
When he had that cross, and he went. I think he came off his shin at the time, but the thought was there, the intent was there. So you know that he likes to score nice goals. I can see him doing something where literally everyone's jaws just drop and go, "What a goal!"
Yeah, I suppose he got the goal of pre-season as well, Mickey. You could say against Palace. I think
that's a great goal, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I don't think there's many better goals in pre-season, mate. So you going with Fleming too, Mickey?
Well, that was my first choice.
You can have him too, mate. Go on. And what's the goal going to be like?
It's going to be an overhead kick from probably 20 yards out, mate. Straight in the top bin. Yeah, absolutely.
I've got Ronaldo's bicycle kick against Juventus in the Champions League in my head. I don't know, or Gareth Bale's one in the Champions League final in my head. Wow. Where it's like that's what you two are saying there. So fair play. I think Malone with a 25-yard rasper from the left-hand side of the pitch. I want to go for on the half volley.
It'll probably be the goal of the season. Will probably be in an FA Cup 4th or 5th round, and it'll be off Jake Cooper's shoulder in the fucking 92nd minute. Do you know what I mean? Against Premiership opposition. Do you know what I mean?
Off the back of his head or something. Yeah.
I got 3 more kind of wimmy ones, like kind of a bit more of a laugh. So, who's going to get the most bookings or most sending offs in the side? Who's going to be the
Honeyman?
That's exactly who I was thinking too. Or Danny McNamara, I was going to suggest. Yeah, I think McNamara likes to tackle them and all. So, go on, Joe. Who you got for me, mate?
This is what I mean. So I noticed under Rowett, he doesn't like us playing with much aggression.
We had no red card last season for the first time in a few years.
When you compare the stats when like Harris was there, we were always getting yellow cards and red cards, weren't we? And he doesn't like that. And I've also noticed sometimes when players get really kind of like the red mist comes up, you can see him shouting over to them, telling them to calm down all the time. He kind of doesn't like them getting too high rate. So I don't know who he'll be, but I think the most likely person will be like Honeyman, I think, because just the nature that he plays in and the fact he's going to be in the middle of the park putting tackles in, and we have seen it in pre-season where he's caught players only sometimes because of the way he plays. So yeah, probably Honeyman.
No one's gone for Jack.
And he'll get a standing ovation.
I was just thinking about Jake. When he said
tackle against Colchester the other night, it was a straight red any day of the week. Yeah. Because against Colchester in a friendly.
Well, it's the same as Cooper against, was it Dartford? I think it was. We went to see him. Was it Dartford? Or, he went in really late, didn't he, on somebody and went to ground. But
the last time a Lions player got sent off, I just had it loaded, but it's popped up with a reminder. The last time a Mill player got sent off was a league game, we had one sent off in the cup game, I think, a while ago. But the last time a league game was Murray Wallace in January 2021 in a 2-1 defeat to Coventry at the Den. Yeah, but for the last 2 seasons, we've had no red cards.
Wow, was that a straight red or double yellow? Do you know? Does it say?
For 2 bookings, there you go.
2 bookings there. So for a straight red, I don't recall that happening for a long time.
The same article was Sean Williams at Stoke in 2020 in January.
Wow.
So there you go. So that was one of 2 straight red card dismissals in that campaign when Jed Wallace was sent off against Sheffield Wednesday. I don't remember that one for Jed. Anyway, so 2 more questions.
Maybe a shithousery or something, maybe from Jed. Wanting a player up or something, knowing him, yes.
So 2 more questions, and we'll do them together so you both can answer. What's going to be our biggest win of the season, and who's it going to be against? And what's going to be our biggest defeat of the season, and who's that going to be against? Go on, Mickey. I'll come to you first, mate.
I think our biggest defeat could be against Hull.
Defeat?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Because I think they've signed some good players this season and could be dangerous.
What's the score going to be?
No, I don't know. 3 or 4-0 maybe.
Okay. And then what's our biggest win this season going to be, mate?
I think we're owed a big one, aren't we? 4-5-0. I think we're owed a big one. Who it will be against, I don't know.
Come on, mate. We beat Peterborough 3-0 last time game of the season. So that's like a big one that sticks in the memory from last season, doesn't it? But come on, give me something, mate.
West Brom. We're going to have to do them. West Brom.
That would be a sweet one, wouldn't it?
West Brom 4-0.
I like it. I can almost see that being feasible and all, you know. It's very outlandish, but very out there. But at the same time, you're thinking it could go very wrong for Steve Bruce, and that could be the day he gets sacked as well. I don't know when we play with him, but
you can imagine like Jed Wallace getting substituted on the 75th minute, and all the Mill fans just laughing and waving at him.
That's it. Go on, Joe. Who's the biggest win and biggest defeat of the season going to be against?
Okay, so the biggest win, typical Millwall would probably have a biggest win against one of the top teams. And our biggest loss probably against one of the bottom teams because we always seem to do that. So I can see us sort of doing really well against West Brom or something like Norwich maybe. And then the biggest loss, I don't know. I think Swansea played really well against us last season, and they could be a danger to us whether they move the ball about.
Okay.
So probably the biggest loss will be to Swansea, I'm thinking.
What's the score's going to be, mate? You didn't give me any score.
Sorry. So Swansea, I think we could probably lose 3-0.
Yep.
And against West Brom, I think we could win that one. I'll say 4-1.
Okay. I think our biggest defeat of the season is going to come away to someone like Middlesbrough. I think Wilder's going to get them going well. And I think that's in January as well. So it's near my birthday, and we always do shit near my birthday. So there you go. There's my caveat. I reckon we lose 3-0 to Middlesbrough near there. And I'll tell you what, lads, our biggest win of the season is going to come this Saturday when we beat Stoke 4-0. There you go. Let's go. Come on, lads. Let's go. Blind faith, complete optimism. But this is a new season now. We're optimistic. There's a lot of kind of pessimism as well. I've not had anything to drink today either. Thanks for that, Mickey. But come on, we've got to be confident, right? Come on, let's go to the end of the season. Optimism's at our sky high. I booked Sheffield United tickets today. We're going to go big this year. It's going to be our year, lads. No,
I think it could be our year. Yeah, definitely.
There we go.
I think it definitely could be. If we're going to attack the chances of the Prem, then this season potentially could be that season. Last year was potentially our season, but we just didn't have the players for it. I think this season the rumour is that there's possibly another 2 signings, maybe 3. And if that turns out to be gospel, then I think potentially we stand a good chance of going for it this season. So
Yeah, I am very optimistic.
I oddly think the Championship's the strongest it's been in the last couple of years, though, and we've missed two good opportunities. I do feel a little bit like that, but who knows? Go on, Joe, mate.
My only hope that I'm kind of hanging on to at the moment is that we haven't been given it 100% in our friendlies, but we're playing at sort of 70% of our capabilities. That's kind of in my mind. That's what I keep telling myself, and I keep thinking like you guys are probably thinking is we're saving ourselves for Stoke. You know, we're going to go at them 100%. We're going to work our nuts off. We're going to do what we can, and then that's when the performance will kick in. So maybe what we've seen in the last few games hasn't really been us at our full kind of capability. It's been us at sort of 70%, 75%, and not really kind of going for it for obvious reasons. We don't want to get injured or whatever and mess up our chances for start of season.
Nearly forgot to ask one more question. Our home form. Last season, it was the third best in the league. 23 games played, 45 points, 32 goals scored, 16 against. Are we going to get higher or lower in points this season at home than 45?
Higher.
Both going higher, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm going to go higher too. And if we do that, we're going to be in the playoffs this year. So I think that's...
Do you know why I say higher? I say higher because the players we brought in, I mean, we've got players that play for the fans as it is anyway, but the likes of Honeyman and Cresswell and Fleming, I think these guys are the guys that will raise their game by 10, 20% purely from the adrenaline and the rush they get from the fans. They're those sort of players. They're quite emotional sort of players, and they will give it everything, and that's why I think our home record this season will be very, very important to us. And I think it'll be pretty good. Is what we do away from home is what's going to be the question mark, I guess. But then
we had 17th best league in the league table last season away from
really
home.
that low.
So that's where it kind of went against us. But we'll have to see what happens. And I think you're right, mate. Just get that den full every weekend, man. This is it. Come on, lads. Come on, everyone. This is
absolutely, yeah, exactly.
Mickey, fill the den, mate. Come on, fill the den, no?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, just don't fucking pint of beer. Get pissed to the den.
Anything else, mate, you want to say before we go, Mickey?
Two things really, I suppose.
Only two today. Are you sure?
Yeah, well, a couple. Mickey's fucking in the thing.
Mickey's post show monologue. Here we go.
Sadly, we lost a great hero, a great legend to our club over the last week or over the last 2 weeks. A player called Phil Walker, who was a phenomenal player, a phenomenal servant to our club. And we're speaking to the club. Make sure you're there on Saturday because he will be remembered in probably the best way that they can through the club are doing. I'm going to his funeral on Friday. I've been kindly invited by his daughter with helping her get stuff sorted out. So I'll be representing the pod there, but it's not about the pod being there. It's just paying respect to a player what has enlightened so many Millwall fans' memories of football back in the time he played. Over 170 games. Phenomenal player back in his day, and never really forgot that he played for us. So rest in peace, Phil. You'll always be at the den, mate. There'll be something about you always at the den. You're in so many people's memories. If you've got any great memories of Phil, then please do drop them in info@millwallpodcast.co.uk or DM to us, and I'll make sure that his daughter gets all those.
He's one of the first players of. I obviously wasn't around at the time in the 70s, but he's one of the first, they say, notable black players to play for Millwall as well, wasn't he?
Yep.
And kind of at the time as well, when the club's always been marred in kind of negativity around that subject. He's one of the ones that pioneered it, wasn't he? I suppose at the time in the 70s.
Him and Trevor Lee, phenomenal players. And you've got to understand that being a black player back then was people talk about football and racism and everything else now. Now's nothing compared to what it was back then. And they still played. I mean, he played over 170 games for us, and he wouldn't have played that many games for us if we were as evil as everyone wants to make out we were. Look, we're a family. He's part of that family. He'll always be part of that family. And that's it. He's a hero in so many people's eyes. He's in so many people's memories. And for that, he'll live on forever in the Millwall family.
Going forward on that, we've got a new website now. If you haven't checked it out already, it's that millwallpodcast.co.uk. Have a look at that. We've got a team of young writers. Kai's leading that up. So keep checking that out. And if you're a writer or an upcoming writer or an old writer, young writer, whatever, get in touch with Kai or get in touch with us. And we'll put you in touch. And, he's looking for writers for the show. The last and final thing going forward.
No. That's two things, mate. You said two. You're done. You're done.
There's a fantasy championship football league. What we're doing, that Millwall Podcast Fantasy Championship League, which will be out any day. Make sure you join in. Make sure that you beat Omar. And at the end of the season, I'll buy you a beer if you beat him. So, yeah.
Don't worry, guys. What I'll do is I'll pick a team of goalkeepers and we can all beat Mickey. And then all beat me, sorry. Then Mickey can buy you all beer. So, there we go.
We're all going to do one, aren't we? We're all going to do one. And then we're shame the one who don't do it. So, yeah, we'll do something around this fantasy football league this year. So, there might be some spot prizes and stuff throughout the season. So, make sure you're on board. And thank you very much for listening. You're making us do great. We're in number 3 in Sweden in the podcast charts the other day, and we're constantly within the top 50 within the UK. So that's only possible by everyone who's listening. So thank you very much. Some days we think we just do this as a hobby, but when people comment and listen and get in touch and point us out when we're at the ground and stuff like that, it means the world. So thank you very much.
That's it, definitely. Thanks, Mickey. Joe, thanks for coming on, mate. Anything you want to say before we go?
Thanks, no, not really. Just I'm gutted I can't be there for the Stoke game. We fly out on Friday, unfortunately.
Unbelievable.
I know, but I've asked my son to keep me updated with I've got a car to do that for me now, haven't I? Actually, the commentary on the game. So good luck, obviously, to the boys. Hopefully, we're going to smash it. Are we doing our predictions? Are we?
Go on, then. I went forward.
We've already had Omar's, so yeah.
So seeing as you, I don't know if you're gonna be on our show later in the week, mate. So go on, Joe. Give us your prediction, mate. For
I'm gonna go for 3-1. 3-1 Millwall, of course. Yeah.
Mickey, I'll ask you probably later in the week, but do you want to give one now? Maybe we'll change your mind later in the week.
I'm gonna go 3-1.
That's 3-1. There you go. 2 3-1s and 1 4-0 from me. Our biggest win of the season. So we're going to peak early, but hopefully sustained it for the rest of the season. A few more 4-0s be thrown in there along the way. But yeah, cheers guys for watching. And as always, like the video, subscribe if you're new. And as Mickey said, it's a great pleasure doing the show as always. So see you guys soon.